I love a good guitar mystery, the kind where years or even decades later, guitarists are still wondering, how did he play that? 50 years ago, in 1975, legendary guitarist Ritchie Blackmore left Deep Purple to form Rainbow with Ronnie James Dio. They released Man on the Silver Mountain, and ever since then, guitarists have been not just playing that epic riff, but also wondering, how did he play those arpeggios in the middle sections of the song? Seems like there's no live video of Ritchie playing them the same way he did on the original recording, so no one knows for sure. The default solution shown by most tabs and videos is fast cross-picking on the top 3 strings. But here's the thing, if you listen really carefully to the original recorded version, there are a few notes he's playing that are missing in every single tab and video that I've looked at. And when you try to make those missing notes fit into those 3-string triads, the fingering just doesn't work when you're playing it that fast. In this video, I'll go into perhaps excruciating detail on where I'm hearing those missing notes, how I'm hearing them, the tools I'm using, and why I think they make it difficult to impossible to imagine that Ritchie was actually playing it that way. Now, the way I think he actually played it might seem like a bit of a stretch, a bit improbable, but as one of my favorite detectives says, the shapes and graphics I'm using to illustrate what's going on with the arpeggios and the riffs are from my new mobile app, The Building Blocks of Rock. It's a visual guide to hundreds of riff, lick, and chord shapes. The riff and lick shapes are new. You won't see them anywhere else. They're one of the best ways to break out of a rut, move beyond just chords and scales. You can find links to the app in the video description below. I'll start off by using some of those shapes to show how Ritchie is playing the main riff in Man on the Silver Mountain, another thing that's not always showing correctly in tabs. He's just using these little bars that cover 2 strings at once. On the 5th and 4th strings, and 4th and 3rd strings. Use the first finger for the lower bar, for the upper bar either 3rd or 4th, or some players use both fingers together instead of barring. Watching live video of Ritchie, Man on the Silver Mountain, looks like he's using his 3rd finger, and looks like he's using all upstrokes for everything except the thumb. These little bars are real common. They're used as riffs in a lot of different songs, like in these examples. They're movable. You can play them in the same place as you'd play this basic power chord, or bar chord shape, or minor pentatonic scale shape. Notice how the root is in the same place on all of them. On the 6th string, the root is the empty red circle. So usually with these riff shapes, you just move them to match the chord you're playing over. For example, Highway Star has this variation where you add the thumb on the 6th string. We'll see a bit of that in Man on the Silver Mountain. And during the verse of Highway Star over the G chord, Ritchie's down here at the 3rd fret. But later on, during the keyboard solo over the D chord, he's up here at the 10th fret. He's just moving the shape along with the chord changes. The notes in these riff shapes are found in the minor pentatonic scale. Flip back and forth between the scales tab and the riffs tab to see. And the distance, the interval between the 2 notes in each bar is a 4th. For example, look at that higher bar, the upper bar. The note on the 5th string is blue, the 5th. The note on the 4th string is red, the root, the tonic, 1. The distance between that is 5, 6, 7, 1, a 4th. These are what you would call fourths. You can also find these 2-string bars used on the 3rd and 2nd strings. Super common, heard in lots of different songs. Also on the 2nd and 1st strings, but there it's usually combined with a 3rd bar higher up, or bent up to those same notes. These 2-string bars on the upper strings, usually heard more in solos and fills and less so in song riffs, so I've categorized them as licks, not riffs. And these 2-string bars are just the foundation. You can add other things to them, like the thumb, like we were looking at, or the root note on the 4th string, or if you're playing an A, open 5th string, or one of my favorite Ritchie Blackmore riffs, Burn. Re-add the third bar a little bit lower. But this one you might be familiar with. Re-add a third bar a little bit higher up. For the main riff in Man on the Silver Mountain, you can find tabs online that are mostly accurate. I'm using one from Songster to supplement the next part of the video, where I show how to play the riff up close. Everything is upstrokes except for the thumb. Start with the thumb, followed by the 5th and 4th string bars. Then the 4th and 3rd string bar, just the lower one. Then the thumb. The barred notes continue to ring while you hit the thumb note, as indicated in the tab. Followed by the 5th and 4th string bars. The first one is just a single note on the 4th string. The tab is incorrect, and Ritchie does seem to repeat this throughout the song. Followed by the thumb. Again, let the barred notes continue to sound while you hit the thumb note, as indicated in the tab. More 5th and 4th string bars, very staccato. Not like this. Staccato. 4th and 3rd string bars, less staccato. Repeat the whole thing. Then the lower bars, continuing down to what you might think of as an E flat, inverted power chord. Those two notes. Here's an E power chord. Here's an E flat, obviously without the 6th string. Slide up with the thumb, back to the 3rd fret, and repeat the whole thing. The most important thing to get this riff sounding right is using the thumb for the 6th string, like Ritchie does. I've seen some videos where instead they'll bar the first finger all the way across. The notes might be the same, but they just don't sound the same. These notes are crisp, articulated, like this. Not like this. To get that crispness, use the thumb, turn the gain down, less is more, and use all upstrokes for the riff. Maybe even the fingers of your pick hand, like on Smoke on the Water. Live looks like he's using upstrokes. On the studio version, he might be using the fingers of his pick hand. I can't tell. Okay, on to the mystery, the arpeggios. These are in what you might call the pre-chorus, in between the verse and the chorus. I spent a lot of time listening to these arpeggios, listening real carefully. Here's my theory on how he played them. So how do you listen to something carefully? Well, the absolute most important thing, you have to be able to slow it down. Otherwise, you're going to miss all these details. And you need a good tool to do it with. I use something called Amazing Slow Downer. It's dedicated software for this purpose, reasonably priced, and the quality of the algorithm is so much better than something like, say, YouTube for slowing things down. There's no comparison. It has some nice additional features too, like a built-in EQ. You can boost the mids, where those guitar frequencies usually live, make it pop out a bit more. And you can pan to one side or the other to focus in on it and still have it come out of both sides of your headphones. Like Man on the Silver Mountain, those arpeggios are more on the left side. Here's a quick demo. Finally, if you can find a good isolated track for the guitar part you're trying to learn. For Man on the Silver Mountain, I found a track that just had the vocal part taken out, and that was helpful. Most tabs and videos show this as being played on the top 3 strings as triads, simple chord shapes that have just 3 notes, the root, 3rd, and the 5th. Here's the thing. Listen carefully, really carefully, and you'll hear some occasional notes that don't fit into those triads. It might be just one note in between triads, might go by really quickly, but it's there. You can't deny it. All tabs and videos that I've seen don't show these notes, and I'll talk about 3 of them specifically. But I think they offer important clues as to how Ritchie was actually playing this. Because if adding those notes in requires you to make too many awkward, weird finger movements when moving from one triad to the next, then chances are that's not the way he was actually played. Clue number 1. In the first few bars of each pre-chorus over the D minor and B flat chords, you hear at least one E note. Now, an E note is not part of either a D minor or a B flat chord. In the second pre-chorus, you hear 3 E notes. Check it out. These are 16th notes, 4 per beat. The last 16th note in the second beat and also in the fourth beat are both E notes in that first bar. Same thing in the second bar, the last 16th note is also an E note. So the question is, how awkward is it to include these E notes as if you're playing these as 3-string arpeggios, the way most videos and tabs suggest? If we're playing these on 3 strings, we're here at the 5th fret, using this D minor triad based off of this underlying chord. Where can we find an E note? Well, there's one on the 2nd string, 5th fret, right there. Could do something like this. The thing to watch out for there is now the first finger is doing double duty. It's over 2 strings at once, so you have to be careful to keep the notes articulated, distinct. It's not like this. Each note is distinct. So the first finger has to kind of roll. Where else is there an E note? Well, there's an open first string. Could it be something like this? The problem there is when you get up to speed, it feels awkward to hit that first string twice. In the second and third pre-chorus, you hear another outlier note, a note that's not part of any one triad. This time it's an A note coming out of the B flat major triad into the G minor triad. And once again, it's the last 16th note. Check it out. It goes by really quickly. I'll try counting the 16th notes in my hand. Don't know if that'll hurt or help, but I'll try it. 3, 4. So once again, the question is, how awkward is it to play an A note along with that B flat major triad if you're trying to play this on 3 strings? If we're playing this on 3 strings, a B flat major triad is going to be up here, using this D shape. Throw it on the 4th string, but also on the 2nd string. That is a root note. That's a B flat note. So an A note's going to be 1 fret below it. And we've got to hit that note on our way from this to this. Which finger do we use? Can't really use the first finger. What about the 3rd finger? Again, easy enough when it's slow, harder when it's fast. Feels awkward to do 3 notes on 1 string with 1 finger. I'll try it fast. Finally, what if instead of playing the G minor triad here, we played it up here using this shape? That's a little easier. But it causes problems because now it leaves us up here when we really want to be down here for those last couple of chords, the E flat to F, as we'll see in just a minute. Clue number 3. In the first and second pre-choruses, right before the last bar, as you move from the G minor triad to the E flat major triad, you hear a quick slide from an F note down to an E flat note. I'll play it really slowly. Once again, that happens on the last 16th note of the bar. So we want to hear a slide from an F note down to an E flat note. Something like this. The problem is it feels awkward to slide this one finger to have it play 3 different notes, the second 2, which is a slide. Easy enough when it's slow, a lot harder when it's fast. It would feel more natural to use the first finger, but then you can't do that because it's not a position for this E flat triad. You have to move it quickly to the 3rd string. So 3 things that are hard to explain. They just feel awkward and unnatural when you try to play this on 3 strings. What if instead you use some of these common 2-string licks that you often hear as pull-offs, but you can just as easily use cross-picking too? The first one, over the D minor chord, you're down here by the nut, and suddenly those occasional E notes seem a lot more explainable. They're just the open E string. Second chord, B flat, is a bit more of a stretch, literally, but doable if you rotate your hand as you play. Plus you've got that open E string to give you some occasional relief. And these 2 shapes are the same as in Mr. Crowley, just an octave lower. And in the last pre-chorus, Ritchie doesn't do that big stretch. Instead, he uses something like this. Here at the 3rd fret, that would be G minor, the relative minor of B flat major, so kind of makes sense. And again, you hear that open E note in between. And if you listen carefully, it sounds like the open 2nd string is in there too. Probably accidentally, but you can hear it. Then into the next chord, A minor, using that same shape. Then into the next 2 chords, B flat and C major, using the major version of that shape, just a slightly longer stretch. And here's how I think he adds that single A note into the mix, and how it flows right into clue number 3, the slide from the F note down to the E flat note. Something like this. Now we need an A note. There's one here on the 1st string by sliding our 1st finger down. But again, that feels awkward to have one finger try to do 3 notes on 1 string really quickly. There's also an A note over here on the 2nd string. What about that? A little difficult, but not impossible. And if we can do that, we're in perfect position to slide from the F down to the E flat to end on that E flat major triad. The 2nd and 3rd pre-choruses end with that whole step band, another thing missing from a lot of tabs and videos. Side note, in doing research for this video, I found one other guitarist on YouTube who plays it on 2 strings, a famous shredder from back in the day. His name is Paul Gilbert, formerly of Mr. Big, Racer X. He starts and ends in different positions, so I don't think he's playing it exactly like Ritchie, but his approach is basically the same. Check out his live video. You can find it on YouTube. About the picking in these arpeggios. I can't tell if Ritchie's using cross-picking or pull-offs. To me, it sounds like he's doing a little bit of both. For what it's worth, in the normal speed version I just played, I was starting each set of 16th notes picking, next set pull-off, and alternating, like pick, pull off, pick, pull off. But in the slow speed version coming up next, I'm using all cross-picking just to keep it simple. Likewise for the tab that I'll try to post on my website soon, the tab for the arpeggios, I'll be doing all cross-picking. And since some of you might not want to sit through that slow version coming up next that ends the video, I'll say goodbye now. Remember, if you like what you saw, please remember to like or subscribe. I'll be getting back into making videos now that the mobile app is done. And please remember to check out the mobile app. You can find it on the App Store or Google Play. Links below. All right, thanks for watching. And in the words of Ronnie James Dio, long live rock and roll.